After opening the scoring in the 2016 Copa America Centenario Group stage match against Chile, Di Maria celebrated his goal with a t-shirt bearing a message for his grandmother, who passed away a few hours before the match. He held up a t-shirt that said, "Grandma, I will miss you so much." After receiving the Man of the Match award during the post-match interview, Di Maria shed tears while thanking his mother and aunt for their support in these difficult conditions.
Cuando le pasa todas estas cosas, es difícil estar lejos de la familia.
Luis Nani was left in tears after his yellow card for a tackle on Columbus Crew. Midfielder Artur was upgraded to a red card by VR. Nani looked in disbelief before he collapsed to his knees and was later seen crying as he walked off the pitch, using his jersey to wipe away his tears after being devastated by the controversial decision. His Orlando City teammates were also disappointed with the referee's decision, as they believed Nani got the ball first.
And Nani can't believe it.
And you understand the disappointment because the initial contact is straight.
After almost 9 months out with a previous Achilles injury, West Brom's Daryl Dike returns in the championship match against Ipswich Town. However, he only lasted 9 minutes after being introduced as a substitute. He had to be replaced due to a torn left Achilles tendon and will be out for 11 months. During the Belgian Pro League match between Lokeren and Club Brugge, Lokeren goalkeeper Boubacar Barry collapsed after hitting his head on the post while diving to save Carlos Baca's shot. He was immediately taken to hospital and treated for 2 days before being released from the hospital. The 2022 World Cup Group H climax will go down as one of the most dramatic endings in football history, as Uruguay went 2-0 up against their old rivals Ghana, but were knocked out early from the tournament when Hwang Hee-chan scored a last-minute winner against Portugal to send South Korea through to the last 16 on goal difference. At the end of the match, Luis Suarez and Heung-min Son couldn't hold back their tears. But for Son, it was tears of joy. Former West Ham goalkeeper Shaka Hislop collapsed during a live broadcast while covering a friendly match between Real Madrid and AC Milan in California. He was speaking alongside fellow presenter Dan Thomas when he stumbled backwards before falling face first to the ground. Dan Thomas then called for help as the crew rushed to help Hislop, and the broadcast immediately cut to a commercial break. Luckily, ESPN later tweeted that Hislop was conscious and being treated by medics. Alexander Sobolev lost his mother a few days before the match due to a hiking accident in August 2020. He then scored a goal against Sochi and dedicated his goal to his late mother. During the 2017-2018 League One match between Amiens and Lille at the Stade de la Licorne, the barrier in front of the away section collapsed as Lille fans celebrated Fode Ballo-Touré's goal in the 16th minute of the game. Dozens of Lille fans fell about 1.5 meters into the pitch, and at least 29 people were injured in the incident. After the incident, the referee decided to stop the match and evacuate all supporters out of the stadium. Leicester City owner Vichai Srivadhanaprabha died in a helicopter crash outside the King Power Stadium shortly after taking off from the stadium pitch. The helicopter spun out of control before crashing and creating a fireball. Before the match against Cardiff City, several Leicester City staff, players, and fans cried as they observed a minute's silence for their late owner. Emotions always run high in such important matches, but they usually emerge after the match is over. However, in the 89th minute of the 2018 World Cup quarterfinal match, Jose Gimenez broke down in tears because he was increasingly convinced that Uruguay would be eliminated from the tournament after France took a 2-0 lead. Muscat FC defender Mukhaled Al-Rakati suffered a heart attack while warming up ahead of the Oman League match against Al Sawaik. He was rushed to a nearby hospital by ambulance where he died shortly after arriving. The players and officials of both sides were shocked and cried following the incident, which caused the match to be stopped before kickoff. During halftime of the UEFA Nations League match between the Netherlands and Germany, referee Ovidiu Hatagan heard the news that his mother had passed away. He cried as his fellow referees tried to support him. However, Hatagan still had the courage to finish the match as a referee. After the final whistle sounded at the Veltins Arena, Virgil van Dijk tried to cheer him up. In the Austrian Bundesliga match, Austria Vienna winger Georg Teigl lost consciousness and lay motionless on the ground after colliding with Nicholas Verachnig's knee. Realizing that Teigl was at risk of choking, Wolfsberger defender Luka Lokoshvili immediately reached into Teigl's mouth and took his tongue out of his throat. Paramedics then rushed to the field to provide medical treatment to Teigl, who suffered a skull fracture, broken cheekbone, and broken jaw in the incident. Thanks to Lokoshvili's actions, Teigl regained consciousness and was then taken to a nearby hospital. In appreciation, FIFA awarded Luka Lokoshvili the 2023 FIFA Fair Play Award. Napoli have finally ended their 33-year-long wait to win the Serie A title after securing a point at Udinese with a record equaling 5 games remaining. After the final whistle blows, thousands of Napoli fans flocked to the Dacia Arena pitch to celebrate the third league title in the club's history. Josef Surl was killed in a bus accident as he and his Alanyaspor teammates were returning from a match against Kayserispor. Alanyaspor players and management attended a funeral ceremony at the training ground in honor of Surl. As a final tribute, Alanyaspor decided to retire Josef Surl's jersey number 90. Assistant referee Humberto Panjoj collapsed during added time in the first half of the 2024 Copa America match between Canada and Peru. The game was played in hot and humid conditions at Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City. Thankfully, the Guatemalan referee was treated on the sidelines and briefly got back on his feet before being taken off on a stretcher. With the match still 0-0 at the start of the second half of the 2018 Champions League final, Loris Karius inexplicably threw the ball to Karim Benzema to allow Real Madrid to take 1-0 lead against Liverpool. Karius also let a straight shot from Gareth Bale slip through his fingers to make the score 3-1 to Real Madrid on the night. After the final whistle blew, Karius cried as he approached and apologized to the Liverpool fans in the stands. Ukrainian striker Roman Yaremchuk was moved to tears after receiving a standing ovation from Benfica fans in the match against Vitória, with the home fans applauding Yaremchuk while declaring their support for his home country Ukraine amidst the Russian invasion. Moussa Dembélé collapsed while warming up at Atletico Madrid's training session. His teammates quickly alerted medical staff to the situation when they saw Dembélé lying motionless on the floor. Dembélé was rolled to the side into a recovery position by medical staff, while the rest of the squad rushed to the ambulance to get a stretcher. Thankfully, a few minutes later, Dembélé regained consciousness and was finally able to leave the pitch without any assistance. FC Twente pays tribute to the late midfielder Jody Lukoki, who passed away at the age of 29. In an emotional tribute before their match against Groningen, Lukoki's son led the tributes as he walked onto the pitch with several players, officials, fans, family and friends broke down in tears. Bruno Boban died after a ball hit him in the chest from close range during a match in Croatia's 3rd division. Boban seemed fine at first, but then collapsed and lost consciousness. As the other players looked on in disbelief, the referee quickly signaled for the medical team to immediately enter the field. They tried to resuscitate him for 40 minutes, but were unsuccessful before announcing Boban had passed away. Pier Mario Morosini played for Livorno in their Serie B match against Pescara. In the 31st minute, Morosini suffered a heart attack and fell to the ground. He tried to get up before finally losing consciousness and receiving medical treatment on the pitch. A defibrillator was used on Morosini, who was conscious when carried on a stretcher. Morosini was rushed to the nearest hospital. Unfortunately, he passed away before arriving at the hospital. Hearing the news of Morosini's death, several of his teammates who came to the hospital burst into tears. As a form of condolences, all Italian Football League matches at the weekend were suspended. Livorno and Morosini former club Vicenza also decided to retire Morosini's number 25 jersey. Before the start of the second half, Ajax were 2-0 up on the night and 3-0 up on aggregate. They were set to reach the Champions League final before a dramatic stoppage-time goal from Lucas Moura dashed their hopes. Almost every Ajax player was lying on the ground, desperate not to stand up, desperate not to be on the pitch, and the game was not even over. Meanwhile, at full-time, Mauricio Pochettino and several Spurs players were inconsolable with tears of joy. On the 28th of October 2024, Luis Diaz's father, Luis Manuel Diaz Jimenez, was kidnapped along with his mother, Silenis Marulanda, by gunmen riding motorbikes at a gas station in the town of Barrancas, near Colombia's border with Venezuela. Her mother was rescued within hours by police. Meanwhile, his father had been held hostage for 12 days in a mountainous area of Colombia by members of the Colombian National Liberation Army. Diaz has pleaded with his father's captors to free him and says he and his siblings are eager to see him again. Diaz missed 2 Liverpool games when his father was detained by rebels, but came off the bench against Luton Town. After scoring a late equalizer against Luton Town, Diaz unveiled a t-shirt in tribute to his father which read Libertad para Papa, which translates in English as Freedom for my dad. The group later admitted the kidnapping was a mistake and its top leadership ordered the release of Diaz's father. His father was finally released on November 9th in the vicinity of Serrania del Perilla. Later that day, Diaz's father was reunited with his wife and other family members. Diaz and his father cried as they hugged for the first time after the kidnapping. Days after the reunion, Diaz's father cried in the stands after watching his son score both goals in Colombia 2-1 win over Brazil in 2026 World Cup qualifying. This is perhaps one of the most heartbreaking stories that has ever happened in the world of football. However, if you want to watch some of the most emotional stories in football, just click the video right here.